Option three was that you could make a decision that you're going to be sincere, you're going to be honest, you're going to get the mortgage company involved, which would mean you go up to the mortgage company, the bank, the building society, and say, I have a problem and I have a potential solution. This is my plan to get me back on track. In the interim, I need some help. The third strategy I said was, you go up to the bank and you say, I want a payment holiday. I want a period. I want you to give me 3 or 6 months payment holiday. In that period, I can't make any mortgage payments, but I'll make those payments subsequently. And what they'll do is redistribute that amount, maybe over the next 12 months. During that 3 to 6 months period, it gives you some spare, I'd say room. It gives you less stress. Now you can go out, maybe get a job. It means you might go out and resolve your financial problem, but it's a payment holiday. Because you've owned the house for a while, the bank recognizes, and to do this, the bank will, in most cases, will get someone to come and appraise the house to know what the true market value is. If the market value is more substantial than what you paid, then the bank will recognize that you have some equity in the house, so the risk is less. On that basis, the bank will be happy to give you a payment holiday. Number 4, I said, is that you can make a decision to go to the bank and say to the bank, I'd like to change the terms I have on this particular contract. Rather than remain as your contract currently is, you say, well, can we remortgage? You may have taken out the loan as a 30-year loan. You've been there for 5 years, so you've done 5 years, so you've got 25 left. You can go back to the bank and say, I'm young, I'm very hardworking, I just have a temporary setback. I'd like to take out a 30-year loan, so let's remortgage this, or 35 years, and the bank will allow you to remortgage, maybe for 12 months. That could drop your payment from $750 down to maybe about $500, giving you the extra cushion you need to redeem your commitments. Once you've paid off that period, you can go back to the bank and renegotiate and bring it back from 35 years or 30 years back to 25 or 20, depending on which you prefer. But those are 4 simple strategies that anyone can use to improve their financial condition or situation. That's all we're going to talk about in this session. Like I said at the start, each and every one of us, we go through crises and difficulties and traumatic experiences in life. And it's important to keep your head up. It's important to be resilient. It's important not to give up. But more than anything, it's important to, at some point, sit down and reflect and find out why you got yourself into the position that you're in, so that you can make corrections, so you can make changes. I'm not going to deal with that in today's session. I don't intend to. If you have a problem, my only focus is getting you out of that problem. And once we've got you going, then we can look at how to overcome that problem so that it doesn't resurface. Because like I said to you at the start, if you're in financial difficulty, if you can't afford to pay your mortgage, that's not the problem. It's a sign that there is a problem. And all of what I've given you will help you deal with effectively what you might call the symptoms or the effects. But at some point, you have to go back and find out what was the true cause. My experience tells me that there are 3 of those. I gave you 1. The one I gave you was that it's a financial wisdom problem. It's a lack of financial education. It's a sign that you haven't perhaps really understood how to use money. Your personal financial plan is not intact. Perhaps it's a sign that perhaps you don't have an investment plan, that you didn't have enough emergency funds set aside. Because if you had about 6 months of emergency expenses set aside, then you wouldn't have to go to the bank for help. You would just use your emergency funds to deal with the problem, because you would have built up those funds in advance. So once you've been able to come to a resolution with the 4 options I've given you, I'd like you to sit down and I'd like you to Ponder on what went wrong. You know better than anyone, and I know you can't lie to yourself. Sometimes we do, but sit down and ponder on what went wrong. And my hope and my wish and my prayer for you is that you find a solution. You find a compromise in your life. You find a way that you can resolve to never go back to where you find yourself today. I hope this has been useful. If it has, I'd like to know. If you would like more information, I'd like to know. Remember this, that there's an incredible power where two or more minds come together. So I don't want you to ever feel that you're alone. You're not alone. There's somewhere and someone out there who can help. That help might come through emotional support, mental support, physical support, or spiritual support. So never feel alone. There's 7 billion people in the world today, and each of those 7 billion people have great minds. Some are developed and some are not. And all you have to do is learn the principle of asking. If you can raise your hands up and say, I have a problem and I'm willing to reach out, you'll find help. So if what I've shared today has been useful, then I'm elated. I'm very pleased and I'm very happy. I'd like to hear from you. If you have more questions, perhaps if you don't know how to go about using each of these options, or you want to ask a little bit more, or you want to make your questions more specific, because I have used some generic examples. But if yours is slightly different and you would like more of a tailored solution to what you're going through or what someone you know might be going through, I don't mind. I'd like to hear from you. You can reach out to me and I'll be happy to deal with you in confidence. Remember this, that you were born to have an exceptional life, an amazing life. Along the way, through the journey we call the adventure of life, we make mistakes. We all do. I have. I've made a lot of mistakes, and I'm certain that I'm going to make mistakes even today and tomorrow. One of the things you must do is learn the art of course correction. You make a mistake, you correct your course immediately. You make a mistake, you correct your course. And the most important thing you have to do is learn from each mistake. And as you learn, you get better. And as you get better, you get wiser. And as you get wiser, you get happier, you get wealthier. You become more fulfilled. Your self-confidence starts to improve. Remember this. When you go through a crisis like not being able to pay for your mortgage, one of the most severe experiences you have related to that emotional trauma is that it will affect your self-confidence and it will affect your self-esteem. I'll say this to you, and I say this with love. Whenever you have anything on the outside and you connect your sense of self-worth to anything on the outside, you're bound to have a miserable life. Because the one thing that is constant in life is change. Nothing stays the same. So if you're going through a crisis like this, you might feel that you failed. Maybe your family. You might feel your confidence drop because you don't have money. Remember this, your true self-esteem, self-confidence doesn't come from anything without, it comes from within. And you have greatness in you. You're born with that potential. You just made a lot of stupid mistakes. Forgive me for using that word, but you have. Now, your potential and your results are not the same. Your potential is incredible, is unlimited. The greatness resides in you, but you've made a lot of bad decisions, and so the results you've created obviously reflect the decisions you've made. A lot of the decisions may not have been right. Recognize the difference. So your self-esteem should always be tied back to your potential, which is unlimited. Now, what we must do now, although your confidence is somewhat waved or shaken, we've got to bring you back to reminding you of who you really are and allowing you to take the steps to getting you out of the predicament you found yourself. If you go through what I've shared with you so far, you'll find that you'll make good progress. And as you make progress, something happens. You find that your financial IQ starts to increase. Because as you solve your financial problems, your financial intelligence increases. And as your financial intelligence increases, as you pull yourself out of the pits you find yourself in, you find that your self-confidence starts to build. Your self-esteem will start to increase. So it's a reinforcement process. You find that actually you start to believe in yourself more because your potential will be reaffirmed and the actions you'll be taking will be pushing you positively towards a better life. I'm sorry I've gone on for much longer than I thought I would, but I hope it's been useful. I wish you all the best. God bless.